The night it happened, the rain didn't just fall, it whispered. It whispered secrets along the crooked streets of Elderton City, painting silver streaks down every glass window, washing away everything except the guilt that clung to the pavement. Daniel Crow stood under a flickering streetlight, his coat drenched, his hands trembling inside leather gloves. He'd seen her again, the woman in the red mask, standing across the street, still and silent as the rain poured around her. Nobody else noticed her, nobody ever did. To them, she was a blur, a trick of the light. But to Daniel, she was as real as the heartbeat pounding in his throat. It had been 10 years since the fire, the one that took his wife, Alina. 10 years since he'd stood outside their burning home, screaming her name as red flames devoured every trace of her. And yet here she was again, or something that looked like her, wearing that same crimson mask she'd worn the night of a masquerade ball, before everything burned. He followed her through the city that night, down the narrow alleys, past the echo of forgotten music from a bar that never closed, past the whisper of tires on wet asphalt. She never looked back. Her steps were soft, deliberate, almost rehearsed. Daniel's pulse quickened. Every turn she took was another memory, another fragment of the night he wished he could erase. The fire hadn't been an accident. He knew that much. The police report said faulty wiring, but Daniel remembered the scent of gasoline, the faint trace of smoke long before the flames erupted. Someone had done it. Someone had wanted Alina gone. And the woman in red, whether she was ghost, illusion, or vengeance itself, was leading him to the truth. The alley opened into an abandoned theater, its sign half broken, the word majestic barely clinging to life. The doors groaned open, the stale air heavy with dust and decay. Inside, the stage still held its tattered curtains, and on the main floor, rows of empty seats stared back like hollow eyes. The woman in the red mask stood at the center of the stage, the faint light catching the curve of her mask and the shimmer of her red gown. Daniel stepped forward. "Who are you?" he asked, his voice breaking against the silence. She tilted her head, a soft, almost mocking motion. Then, slowly, she reached up and placed a gloved finger to her lips. "Shoo." Daniel's chest tightened. "Why are you haunting me?" he demanded, taking another step. The woman turned her head toward the back of the theater, where a single door stood slightly ajar. From behind it came a faint hum, the static of an old film reel starting to spin. The sound pulled him like gravity. He glanced back toward the stage, but she was gone. The mask shimmered faintly on the floor where she'd stood. He picked it up. It was warm, impossibly so, as if someone had just taken it off. Then the reel began to play. On the cracked white wall, flickering images appeared. He saw himself and Alina dancing. It was the night of the masquerade ball, their anniversary. Laughter, wine, music, the soft glow of chandeliers. He'd forgotten how beautiful she looked that night, in her red gown, her mask glittering like a secret only she could keep. But as the film stuttered and burned through, the images changed. A shadow appeared in the corner of the frame, tall, slender, wearing the same mask. Another Alina. Or was it? The shadow stepped behind the real Alina and whispered something into her ear. Alina turned, startled, and then the film cut to black. Daniel's breath hitched. He froze. Then words began to appear on the screen, scrawled like handwriting on the film itself. "You didn't see what you think you saw." The reel stopped. The lights in the theater flickered and went out. The sound of footsteps echoed above him in the balcony. Daniel ran up the stairs, his flashlight cutting through the darkness. He reached the top just in time to see a door close. Behind it, he found a small room, an old projection booth, walls lined with film reels, old photographs, and yellowed newspaper clippings. He brushed the dust off one and froze. The headline read, "Local artist perishes in fire, husband survives." Below, it was Alina's picture, smiling, her red gown vivid even in grayscale. But next to it was another article. Crow Industries scandal, art forgery ring exposed. His heart stopped. That was his company. He'd sold his business after the fire, unable to face the memories. But now, the puzzle pieces began to rearrange themselves. The fire hadn't just taken his wife, it had taken his secrets too. A creak behind him made him spin around. The woman in the red mask stood in the doorway. "Alina," he whispered. She didn't answer. She reached up slowly, removed the mask, and it wasn't her. The face beneath was pale, hollow-eyed, familiar in the worst way. Lara, he breathed. Lara Holt, his business partner, his closest friend. She'd disappeared after the scandal broke, presumed dead. You, he whispered. She smiled faintly. You always did love ghosts, Daniel. He took a step back. You started the fire? He asked. She shook her head. No. We started the fire. You just don't remember. The words slammed into him like a physical blow. His memory twisted. Flashes of the night returned. The argument. The bottle of whiskey. The confrontation with Alina when she discovered the forged paintings. She had threatened to expose him and Lara both. The gasoline can in the corner. The lighter. His trembling hands. Then fire. He staggered back, the truth breaking through the fog of guilt. No, he whispered. It was an accident. Lara stepped closer. Accidents don't scream your name before they burn. She dropped the mask at his feet. You didn't see me die, did you? Because I didn't. I stayed behind, watched it all burn, and watched you run. She circled him like a predator. For 10 years, you've lived like a ghost. I've just helped you remember who you are. Daniel's vision blurred. Then what do you want? He rasped. She stopped in front of him, inches away, eyes gleaming. Confession, she said. And justice. Before he could react, she raised a small recorder and pressed play. His voice filled the room, shaky, panicked. I didn't mean to do it. She wasn't supposed to die. I just wanted to scare her, his own confession. His stomach dropped. She'd been recording him since the moment he followed her. Every step had been a trap. She smiled again, a flicker of triumph in her eyes. By now, that recording's already been sent to the police. Goodbye, Daniel. He lunged for her, but she slipped back through the door. In his panic, he stumbled, the old wooden floor splintering beneath him. The projector sparked, the reels caught fire. Flames roared up again, painting the room in red. For a second, he saw Alina's face in the smoke, eyes filled with sorrow. And then everything collapsed. When the fire trucks arrived, the theater was nothing but ashes. They found 2 sets of remains, one male, one female. But weeks later, the reports were quietly amended. The female body didn't match Lara Holt. In fact, it didn't match anyone on record. And somewhere across the city, a woman in a red mask was seen boarding a train, her suitcase light, her expression unreadable. Months passed. The story made headlines for a while. Scandal resurfaces after 10 years, businessman's guilt proven by posthumous evidence. But soon, the city forgot. Only the whispers remained. They said that sometimes on rainy nights, if you walked past the ruins of the Majestic Theater, you could still see a flicker of red behind the smoke, a shadow watching from the ashes, waiting for the truth to finish burning. But in a small art gallery uptown, a new exhibition quietly opened 6 months later. Its title, Masked in Red. The collection featured haunting portraits, each depicting a woman in a crimson mask, her face hidden, her eyes deep with secrets. The artist's signature was a single initial, A. The final piece in the series showed a man standing under a streetlight, his face split between shadow and flame. And below it, a single line written in small cursive, Justice wears many masks. No one ever discovered who the artist was, though a few claimed to have seen her at the opening. A woman with long dark hair, a hint of red silk trailing from her wrist, and eyes that caught the light like burning glass. When asked about the story behind the exhibition, she smiled faintly and said, "Every mask hides a truth. Some just burn brighter than others." Then she vanished into the crowd, leaving behind only whispers, and the haunting certainty that ghosts never really die. They just find new faces to wear. And so, Elderton City moved on, its people unaware that one of its oldest ghosts still walked among them, painting the truth in shades of scarlet. The rain kept falling, the streets kept whispering, and somewhere, beneath the endless gray, the woman in red smiled behind her mask, the last secret the fire could never consume.